now 5 o'clock, and I would like to call this meeting to order. We thank Superintendent Mike Ripplinger and the Union County School District for hosting our November District Board of Trustees meeting for Florida Gateway College. I'd like to introduce Superintendent Mike Ripplinger.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the board and the members in attendance tonight. We're just glad to host you guys this evening, and I had the pleasure of working alongside and teaching with Miss Allen for many years at Union County High School, and it's always great to see her, and it's also kind of neat that she gets to chair this evening's meeting back in her own stomping grounds. It's funny how things work, but we just want to appreciate and thank you guys for the partnership that Union County School District has had with Florida Gateway for many, many years in a variety of capacities, whether it's scholarships, the Board of Trustees scholarships, the support that Florida Gateway gives to our students through the Regional Science Fair. I can attest, my own two children were very active in Science Fair. My daughter did it for 6 years under the tutelage of Miss Allen and others, and something must have stuck because she's in her second year at Florida Gateway, and she's taking classes to be a high school science teacher one day.
Great.
And my son is actually in the, you did well, Renee. So, and my son is actually taking some of the classes for the golf course management program, and he likes to play golf and he likes to mow, so he believes I told him it's not quite that easy, but hey, if he's interested, so we're going to fan those flames however we need to. But we're very delighted that y'all are here tonight, and look forward to hosting you again in the future. And we're also happy to feed you after the meeting's over. But we look forward to having many more years of a great partnership. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This time we will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by SGA President Aaliyah Montgomery.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Audience of any citizen, the FGC Board of Trustees will hear any citizen who wishes to address the board on a one-time basis pertaining to a relevant topic. If the board wishes to hear more about the topic, that topic will be scheduled for a future board meeting. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, and the time dedicated to this topic will not exceed 20 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to come before the board today? Okay. If not, then we will go on to item number 4, approval of board minutes dated October 14th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve the board minutes?
So moved.
And I second it.
Okay, that is a motion from Suzanne Norris and seconded by Ms. Catherine McGinnis. Item number 5, student government report. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Okay, everybody.
I'm sorry.
All approved?
All right.
Sorry. Okay. On to the next item, student government report, SGA Representative Aaliyah Montgomery.
Good evening, guys. Since our last board meeting, FGC Student Government Association has hosted our annual Fall Festival. Clubs on campus were able to man their own game tables and give out tickets, which students were able to get prizes. Places like the Sears Department, local, and our Marine Corps were able to join this event as well. We had carnival food to provide for students and teachers, and we were able to survey a lot of our students and teachers on the best way that we can give out information to them, whether that is a navigation app, their Outlook email, or posters around campus, or their professors telling them. So with this information, we're able to get a really good insight on a better communication route to tell our basic youth faculty how we can reach out to them about events happening on campus. For the rest of the semester, we are participating in the food drive and also Toys for Tots. Students and staff will be able to drop off cans or non-perishable food and many of our on-campus drop-off boxes and also our Toys for Tots boxes as well. Any questions? All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming to Union County.
Yeah, no problem.
The next item on the agenda is a presentation of the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda are routine business, state directives, and/or compliance items. All items have been reviewed by the board attorney and have been available to the board for examination. Any trustee can request a topic to be removed from the consent agenda and discussed further. Typographical errors will be noted and corrected in the board minutes. Are there any corrections or any items that the board would like to remove? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to
Ms.
approve.
Catherine McGinnis? Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. All approve, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay. We're waiting for a call in from Dr. Teppadino.
Can you hear me? All right, we're gonna put you on Bluetooth right now. Hold on. Ask him. Can you hear? Can you say something, Dr. Teppadino? Not connected? Let me see. Bluetooth on, connected.
Shows connection.
Could you say something? Nothing. Nothing.
Come through.
Wait, maybe I have to do it on Bluetooth. Try it now.
Hey guys.
Is the volume up?
He's there.
But it's supposed to go through there, but I guess it's not going. You wanna
Hey
put
guys,
it?
can you hear me?
Yeah, let me see if I put it near there. Excuse me.
Should come through.
All right guys, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but hold on. I'm trying to see if everybody else can hear
Maybe try to reconnect or something.
you.
Just
Because
another
it
one of our
played from
mics.
YouTube.
It's right there. Show is connected. I guess we're just gonna have to have them listen this way.
You can just put me on regular speaker.
All right, you're on my phone speaker.
And just put it by a mic.
That'll work for me guys.
Okay.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay now?
Can everybody hear?
Put 'em on a
We'll put them in the middle. Where do you want?
mic. On a mic, by a mic.
I'll put them by a mic. Put you by the microphone, okay?
Okay, that'll work.
All right, you're by the mic.
All right, I can hear you guys just fine.
All right.
Okay. Item number 7 on the agenda, academic affairs, Dr. Paula Gavin.
Hello. Well, first off, I would like to thank Dr. Barrett and the board for putting me in this position. It's big shoes I'm following, so I hope to live up nearly close to what Brian was for us in academic affairs. First off, AQ, the AQ training for faculty on professional development on creating an inclusive and supportive learning environment was completed, and 58 out of the 59 faculty members did complete it. 2 of those were actually administrators, me and Matt, so that we got a good taste and we could understand what the faculty were covering. And it was very, very good professional development series for us. Second, Todd Siv for December 2nd and 4th at 7 p.m. The FGC Holiday Concert featuring the Matt and John's Band will be performed. Concerts are going to include 12 student singers and 6 faculty and staff singers. So general admission is $7, but it's also free with an FGC ID. December 17th at 4 and 7:30 p.m. the FGC Performing Arts presents Dance Alive National Ballet's The Nutcracker, and tickets will be $15 for that. Brain Bowl, the team has played in several online tournaments this fall. Most recently, Caroline Johnson, one of our students, finished 10th overall in the individual standings with a 45 points per game average, which is pretty high for them. FGC is going to host an online high school tournament on November 20th with 14 teams signed up to play. Faculty, staff, and students are actually volunteering as scorekeepers this go around as well. And then lastly, the Future Teachers Club with Allison Dees and the Math Club with Fred Douglas teamed up with Travis George to provide tutoring to elementary and middle school students at the Richardson Community Center, and they've been doing that for like the last 2 weeks. And so that's been a very positive impact for our community. Any questions?
A quick question. I know that COVID's really put, a cramp on how we are able to interact in the performing arts with some of the school systems, but are we at the point now where we're able to bring some of the schools in to see like the Nutcracker or some of those things, again, being able to expose the young people to things they might not get otherwise?
Yeah, we did actually during the Little Prince. We had a day where they shipped. How many elementary schools came out? Oh, homeschool students.
The school
Or
districts
homeschool
won't send
students. They all came out, and it was very, very well received.
Okay.
High attendance during that one.
Is it still tough for the school systems to be able to do something like that with us because of just constraints?
Well, Matt, what do you think?
I think that's something we're looking at. I think that Todd explored that for the fall, but that's something again we'll look at either for the upcoming performance or for next fall.
Okay, good, thanks.
Well, thank you, Dr. Gavin, and we look forward to our new relationship with you and your new position, and we're excited for you, and congratulations. Next on the agenda, item 8, Enrollment Management and Student Affairs, Tony Cardenas.
Good evening, everyone. I'll start out today with an enrollment report. Enrollment opened on October 25th of this year. We currently have 1,578 students registered for 13,927 credit hours. Right now we are down versus last year. We are down in certain programs, and I'll kind of explain this. Right now last year at this time we had 45 students in our phlebotomy program. The state last year was running what we call a rapid credentialing scholarship program where we paid for everything in the phlebotomy program. So we don't have that program running this spring. So we had 45 students last year. We don't have those students this spring. Our corrections, basic correction officers program, we had 68 students in that program a year ago today. We don't have that program this spring. So we're seeing our decreases are being kind of led by these type of programs that we're just not offering year over year, just because those scholarship programs aren't offered, or we're not being asked to do corrections courses. So we are aware of that, and of course we're also seeing a dip in our dual enrollment programs still too. So in terms of where are we at in enrollment, we're watching those areas specifically. Where can we start adding more students into other areas at the college? I just returned last night from the American Association of College Registrars and Admissions Officers National Conference on Strategic Enrollment Management. They focused on two-year colleges enrollment. Since the pandemic started, two-year colleges are down over 800,000 on headcount, which is roughly 24% nationwide. The majority of this hit was taken in the 18 to 20-year-old students at 16.6%. and 21 to 24-year-old students at 17.4% drops over the last 2 years. That is a large portion of our student population on our campus, and we're also seeing those same hits in those age groups. So we're paying attention to that. There were actually a couple of community colleges from the Pennsylvania area where they raised the local minimum wage from $14 an hour to $17 an hour, and these students went to work instead of going to college. They're making the choice to go to work instead of going to school. We're seeing that here in our district too. A lot of these students are first generation. It's just the population that a lot of us serve as community colleges and two-year schools. Many of these students have parents, actually 50% in not a local survey, but a national survey, 50% of first generation parents feel that a college education isn't worth it. Many of these students today, we found out that their best friends or their close friends are no longer their fellow students, but they're their fellow coworkers. So these are some of the trends that they're picking up on at the national level and reporting back to us now at these conferences. A lot of these things we're seeing in our own backyard today. We'll have to continue to work on developing new pipelines, different types of programming, and different types of degrees, and working with academics. They're looking at shorter term degrees that can help workforce development degrees. Where can I get credentialing to help get a raise at work without having to go for 16 weeks, without having to go for 12 weeks, without having to put in 8 weeks? That's another trend that they're also seeing at the national level that many two-year colleges are dealing with. So we're looking at all of that right now as we continue to enroll students. We have to put in our second chance Pell students still, so that will help with enrollment. And we still have other populations that will be entering between now and the beginning of the spring semester. That's a lot I just gave you on enrollment. We are monitoring it daily, and I'm watching all of these programs as we move forward into the January start date. We are doing a lot of stuff outside of just my office. We just hosted a campus open house on November 9th. We had over 100 students attend that. Since the pandemic, we haven't been able to host an open house on campus. So all of our faculty and staff, all of our academic departments, all of our CTE programs were all in attendance that night, including admissions, financial aid, and enrollment services, helping students get through that process. We hosted our dual enrollment articulation meeting today. All 7 public high schools and Belmont High School were in attendance. We hosted over 33 different high school guidance counselors, and they all had a great time, and we're working with those schools every week. Experience days have taken off. Union County High School was our first high school at our experience days this year, so we're excited about that, and all 7 public high schools will be coming to our campus over the next 2 months. And finally, in athletics, we hosted the Division II Region 8 FCSAA NJCAA volleyball tournament. Trying to get all of that on one logo. That was tough. But we hosted 6 Florida teams and one college from the state of Mississippi. For Lake Sumter College won the tournament in an upset and are now headed to Iowa for the national tournament. We had over 500 parents and family members and administrators in attendance, including other presidents from state schools. Deans and vice presidents all came to our campus to watch their volleyball team. So it was quite a success. Rebecca Golden did an incredible job. Our women's cross country team went to nationals this last weekend in Mechanicsville, Virginia, where they competed at the national stage. In our 4th year, we finished 11th out of 49 teams. We've been ranked in the top 20 all year. So they had a very, very successful season. And our men's basketball season kicked off. We've hosted 2 games, home games this year. The next home game is a grudge match, a big match coming up on December 14th versus Santa Fe at 7 p.m. Everyone is invited. We'd love to have you guys come out and support the Timberwolves. And that is my report. Are there any questions?
I always have a couple of questions for you. Okay, so back to the dual enrollment. Is it spread evenly across the districts in terms of the downturn, or is there a particular area that we're seeing a trend of enrollment?
We're still seeing that trend with Columbia kind of taking the bigger chunk of the deficit right now.
Is it because there's more jobs available with service industry? I mean, do you have a feel for what the issue is on the dual enrollment? Well, dual enrollment, that wouldn't even be an issue, but is it more AP classes there? I mean, do you have a feel for what the issue is?
Yeah, I have not had a chance to talk to them specifically what it continues to be. Looking at students being able to get into the program is kind of the barrier. Being able to pass the test to get in is kind of still tends to be the barrier.
All right, so the ability to take that test and to do well enough to show that they can be, okay. Secondly, back to the tournament, congratulations.
Thank you.
Do we have any kind of economic impact study, or does any, the TDC probably has that, so if we haven't gotten anything that shows hosting these tournaments, it has probably a really strong, economic impact in our area, and I would like to know what that is. And if we haven't been collecting it, I would ask us to start doing it going forward, because that's something we're bringing into the community in addition to all the other money that circulates through from Florida Gateway. So do you have?
Yeah, we do not have that information. I do agree 100%. But since all of those schools stayed 3-4 nights in hotels, their parents were also staying in hotels, eating at all the local restaurants. We did work with the tourism board to help get that information out to the students. The local hotels were giving discounts. So we're restaurants. So I can see if I can get some more information on that before our next
They
meeting.
usually have good information, like after a baseball tournament in town, things like that, so I'm sure that they've got that. That would be, I'd like to hear that.
Definitely. I will look into that. Thank you.
Madam Chair. As it relates to corrections, maybe I'm sort of out of the loop on that, but not, we don't have a lot of time. Where are we? We're training again for them? I know we weren't, so we are again?
Yeah, we've been training. Actually, we've upgraded. If John Jewett was here, he would say it's ebbs and flows. Last year, they came to us with 400 to do, and it was last minute, and we did all 400. So some of our enrollment decreases based on that. And if you remember, during COVID, we had to use the Boys Club as the bubble for them because they were bringing it in from the prisons and so forth. But it goes in ebbs and flows, and there's some discussion at the state level on how they're going to do it again. It depends on the secretary. Secretary Eves is actually coming to the graduation in December. I plan on asking him that, but it's always ebbs and flows of that. So right now we have 0. So usually it's the private prison and usually them, and they're having a tough time recruiting people. And actually, quite frankly, they're placing them directly in as correction officers without the training, and they're doing it with and then they're backfilling it later, Chuck. So the thing is so we are. I mean, that used to be a huge thing. We used to do 800 people when you were in the 2000s.
I guess I'm on the other end of the thing, and I hadn't kept up with this end of it. Of course, there's 5,100 vacancies out there. And this week, I think the governor signed it. We approved a 16% raise with up to some of those folks get $5,000 signing bonuses. So I would expect, of course, who could predict? That's the point of all of this, is that they are able to recruit and hire more people. And so we might be getting some of that back, hopefully, and that'll help your numbers because that's the intent of the legislation.
Definitely be grateful for that.
Yeah. I have one more question for you too. When you're talking about some of what the peer schools are doing throughout the country, because one of the things that you're right, the job market, by raising the minimum wage and what people are having to pay for people, there just needs to be maybe like a short-term program for a skills gap. That if and I'll use the service industry for example, someone that starts out there and they're pretty quick to try to promote someone with a little bit of initiative into a managerial spot or whatnot. So, are there any types of programs where, certification into supervisory skills or some things like that we might be able to offer to some of the local businesses when they end up with a good employee that they want to take that next step? Instead of just throwing them at it and saying, here, let's put you as an assistant manager, actually train them a little bit. Like the big companies have that kind of stuff and whatnot, but most of our small businesses don't. They just sort of this person showed up every day. Let's make them an assistant manager, right? So any programs like that people talking about?
From what I heard over this last weekend, it was a lot of the tech programs. It was a lot of database management certifications. It was a lot of the Microsoft certifications. Some of the Adobe certifications. Those were the first ones that a lot of people were coming in with. We're actually starting to see a lot of those come in from the high school level, all the way up into others needing those certifications as they are further deeper into their professional fields. So that's what a lot of the talk was, but I can look into more. It would probably be a good combination with academic affairs and discussing what else we can do.
I mean, it'd be good to see what the business community is saying that they're lacking in some skills gap right now, because like I said, it's just tough to get. Every business that I talk to, it's they can pay people, but then they the soft skills that we all want them to have, they don't have.
That was a big talking point, was getting out and working with the companies now, working with your local economy, working with all of those, saying, what do you need? What type of training do you need? What are your employees going to require, not only this year, next year, and into the future, to make you more competitive? So it's looking at that and coming back with that information. I think that's a great idea.
Okay, any other questions? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Item number 9, Business Services Report, Michelle Holloway.
Good evening. I have 3 items to request approval on. The first is budget amendment number 4. The college requests approval of budget amendment number 4 to the restricted current fund for the fiscal year 21-22. This amendment recognizes revised award authorization and new grants received in the new fiscal year.
Is there a motion to approve budget amendment number 4, restricted current fund 2, fiscal year 21-22?
So moved.
Ms. Norris moves. Is there a second?
I second
Ms. Catherine McInnes, second. All approve?
Aye.
it.
Oppose? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you. Next item, we are requesting approval of Fund 7, Budget Amendment 4, which has been revised, so the report reflects actual revenue, revised budgeted expenditures, actual expenses, and updated projects through October 28th, 2021.
Is there a motion to approve budget amendment number 4, capital outlay plan for unexpended plant fund 7, budget fiscal year 21-22?
So moved.
Mr.
Second.
Lander moves.
Second.
Ms. Norris seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Just for clarification, guys, I'm not voting because I'm from a distance, so I know that I don't think I'm supposed to, but I'm listening to everything. I didn't want you to think I'm trying to be lazy over here.
Okay.
That was always our first thought, that you were trying to be lazy.
The next item, college requests approval of our annual comprehensive safety inspection report for fiscal year 21-22. The inspection is mandated by the state requirements for educational facilities, SREF, and the Florida Academic Code. The report is required by SREF to be submitted to the Florida State Fire Marshal's Office, Florida College System Risk Management Consortium, and the District Department of Education, and kept on file by the college until approval by the District Board of Trustees. Each year, the DOE conveys to the Commission of Education the aggregate institutional reports. Now, these reports, we had 4 non-serious fire safety violations on the main campus. One was taken care of right away, the same day. 3 of them, we have a contract with a fire safety company to do some work on our fire alarm systems. We had 1 non-serious fire safety violations in a Lusty as well. And that's, again, with the contract that we have with our company, our service company. So we're getting all those taken care of.
Is there a motion to approve the annual comprehensive safety inspection report?
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve that report.
Okay, Mr. Brannon makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Norris is second, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Then I have some really great news to share with the board tonight. We got our notification today that we have been approved for our additional funding for our STEM building and our Lusty Safety Campus project. So thank you, Representative Brannon, for
Well, I've got
being behind
to
this.
say something. I've been a traitor to y'all. I actually had to file a piece of legislation earlier this week for Santa Fe College. And Dr. Brody called me and I said, you know, I can't do that. And he says, yes, you can. And I said, all right, I'll do it. It's actually to help the campus over in the Stark, so it's nearby to y'all. But I didn't want you to know that I was sort of a traitor. It was only $1.7 million.
Thank you. It is much appreciated, and we will be good stewards of the funds, and you will see some good progress.
Good.
And that's my report. You have any questions?
Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Item number 10, the President's Report. Dr. Larry Barrett.
Superintendent, I just want to thank you. If there's anything we can do for you, it's all about pathways and so forth. So we'd love to do things with Union County, continue to expand. So I want to thank you for your hospitality tonight. So we need to get together more often, okay? You and I. So not me, not you. So that I haven't done. So I just wanted to let you know, as a follow-up to Chuck's trader remark, on December 14th, as Mr. Cardine has mentioned, we're playing the Santa Fe Saints. Dr. Brody and I go back to our New York days. We were Yankees together, I guess. Upstate New York, but not New York City. And so I've challenged him to come on our campus at halftime for a free throw shooting contest first best of 10 gets to wear each other's garb for a week.
Nice.
So,
I hope you're practicing already.
and I've already been practicing. You can tell the competitiveness. So we're not going to let that down. So I just wanted to let you know that. Just as another follow-up to Suzanne's question, one of the challenges continues with Columbia High School. I had a meeting with Superintendent Carswell about 2 weeks ago about another matter. They're still, as you know, they're our major feeder for the college. They're still down about 600 students trying in the district wide, trying to find out, locate where they are and so forth. And in addition, last year's class was significantly less than the other classes, about 200 less in their graduating class. So when you look at that, there's no excuses. What we do not want to have ever happen here at the institution is the continued enrollment slide when we work so hard to get that back. So that is a priority for us, but it is a changing environment, So we'll have to adapt to that. I want to thank all of you for allowing me to miss one of the graduations this December. I know Dr. Dobson in his swan song will do an outstanding job. I do have a timer on him that I'm going to have an electronic timer on him so he doesn't go too long. We pride ourselves on short graduations. If any of you are interested in attending any of the graduations, please let me know. There is another invitation in there. There's also another, I believe Ms. Norris went to our first prison graduation about 2 years ago, and it was very special. We are having another one on Wednesday, December, what day is that, 15th? And at 10 a.m. So if any of you want to be there, please just let me know. That one you do need to let me know a few weeks in advance so I can get your security clearance. And that. So I want to let you know that. I want to thank Dr. Tepedino for lassoing me into a volunteer effort with Lee Pinchuk at the Pregnancy Center for a dunk tank. I realize I'm a lot older than you now, doing that dunk booth for about 45 minutes, and I was pretty sore for the next couple of days out. So thank you for letting me do that for you. It was a great event. They raised over $10,000 for the pregnancy.
You were amazing, and oh my goodness, like you talk about my sinuses totally got cleared out with all the chlorinated water, so we're good.
So and I guess they changed the water after I got in it. So, I'm sorry. All right. Also on that same note, today about 20 of us went to the staff and faculty went to the event in Catholic Charities Food Bank, where we distributed 535 food baskets with turkeys in Lake City to the Columbia County School District kids, and the guidance counselors actually selected the families to receive that. So it was a really special thing to do that. Giving Day. Giving Day was held this past Tuesday. And I think Lee was on the low side about what his expectation was $50,000 for Giving Day. We raised over $85,000. And what was really important was every room now has been taken for the STEM buildings. All 12 rooms now have been taken. So as we talk about the foundation and just not their investments, they also are raising money. It's a huge success to them. And I want to thank Lee for all his work on that. Couple of other positives. Aspen, very proud of the faculty and staff here, and for the board for helping us achieve the top 150 in Aspen. It doesn't come easy. This is the second time this institution has received that notoriety. It was the first time it was offered back in 2008, so it's been a long time coming. It was one of our aspirational goals. And the staff has been working day and night, right, Paula? They're not too happy because this document has to be prepared by December 9th on top of everything else to determine whether we're going to be selected in the top 10 in the country. I've been reviewing some of our data, and I really think we have a shot to be in this top 10%. And in January, I'll be presenting some of the data that we've received, and this is actually on our website currently, but and to just give you an example, 150% graduation rate. That means if Johnny or Jane starts as a full-time student within 3 years, what is their graduation percentage? National average is about 27%. When we started this journey in 16, we were at 35%. We're now at 53%.
That's great.
So if you take a look at our graduation rates for the AS programs, our workforce programs, we're up to 68%. And our placement rate over the last 2 years, and just not a one-time wonder, is about 97% for our workforce programs. So I'm just so proud of the faculty and staff that have pulled that off. Couple of negative issues. I'll end with negative. I should end with positive. There is some issue on Instagram, and it's also on what else, Tony?
Facebook.
Facebook. We've had to issue a cease and desist order to, we don't know who. We've identified 2 or 3 members that have created a Facebook page and social media about a FGC football, men's football team. And they're doing it on their Florida Gateway Club, and they're saying they have to register at our college, and if you give them $1,500 to do that. So it's a kind of a scam, and we're taking action through legal counsel to get that done, but it's going to be very hard to end. And now they're bringing the city and the county into it because they're using Memorial Stadium as where they're going to have their games, and also use the Richardson Center as the training facility. So it's pretty elaborate, using our logos very nicely and so forth. So welcome to the new world we're in. So I just wanted to let you know, make you aware of it. We're trying to end that. And then I just want to end with, some of you know there's some issues have occurred. We had a great meeting. I think it was a good meeting. Not a great meeting, but it was a good meeting with the city and county back in early October to get some communication issues out. Follow up, there's been some really positive things that have happened with water and city with the city. And about 2.5 weeks ago, I was approached by David Kraus, who was the county manager for Columbia County, and also Mike Williams from the city of Lake City, to talk about a grant they were applying for that they wanted our blessing on. To make long story short, it was about a workforce initiative building in Lake City, that at the time of the meeting they had indicated to me that it was strictly going to be a HACO-driven workforce training facility, and they wanted us not to obstruct it as a college. Mike McKee was available for that and talked with me about that, and we agreed that we would not obstruct that. About a week and a half ago, I received a call from Chancellor Henry Mack, who's the Chancellor of the Division for Workforce Development, said, "Larry, what are you doing? You're allowing River Oak Technical College to build a campus right next to Florida Gateway College." At that time, I reached out to Mr. Williams, who I have a good relationship with. Mike knew nothing about it, and the grant had been revised since Mike had signed off of it. And since then, there's been letters of support. There's lots of issues related to that. Mike McKee and I have been working with the county and the city to try to bring back that grant, that it would be under Florida Gateway College, but it would be a responsible grant, that we would know what we were representing and so forth. But I used the kind of notoriety of, I'll use this example. It's similar to, stay in your lane, and if it's mission creep, and everybody's in the education business, but it's sort of like if our college wanted to form our own county, and we wanted to have our own rules and regulations, and we segmented and we didn't tell anybody about it. That's being attempted to be done right now by the county without us having any knowledge about it, and getting people to support that under a different guise. So it's very concerning to us, and it has a lot of implications for the college. So I just wanted to make you aware of that situation.
Can I say something?
Yes.
My letter supports one of them. And the reason I wrote it was that I thought this college passed on that situation. I mean, that was how many years ago?
4 years ago.
And we hadn't done anything. And so obviously, when the county and the city came to me and asked for a letter of support, I asked, is the college going to do that? And I was, no. So
Okay.
I'm almost saying like we missed an excellent opportunity, and I can't go against someone else who wants to step in and take that. We had the opportunity, we didn't take it.
And Chuck, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the thing is, they gave you, I can explain the whole situation. We don't have enough time, but I'll explain this quickly. The state came to us with an $800,000 grant, asked us to train 300 A&P graduates. The entire state of Florida trains 300 graduates a year. We received $800,000. We had told them there wasn't enough. The county, Mr. Kraus, Mr. Heffenberger is no longer at the city, and Mike McKee and I went up to the state and told them in DOA, and told them we couldn't do this, and they said we would gladly have you do something else, which was the diesel program. So the county and city knew exactly what were they doing, and their leaders actually went with the college and said they agreed not to do that. And then when this happened 2 or 3 weeks ago, they didn't even come to us to make that offer. And this is not the same offer that they did 4 years ago. It's not A&P and mechanics. Now it's sheet metal training, and those are all, and very low level training, which we're willing to engage with trying to do. So, I mean, I just want to, I mean, that's,
Couple of
so I'm sorry.
Let me finish.
Okay.
There needs to be some better communication, obviously, between the city and the county and the college, if that's the case. How many letters of support were there?
8 letters of support.
And, I mean, that was my position. I assumed, when I was told that was something the college chose not to do, and I had no reservations about supporting River Oak if they were willing to do it. I think, obviously, Florida Gateway College would be the ideal people to do it because right next to the airport. But if if it's a different situation, or if we missed an opportunity, then we need to be notified of that. But obviously 4 years is a long time. I remember when Governor Scott came to not to have taken any action.
So let me, if you don't mind speaking to that meeting 4 years ago, because I sat in on that meeting with Ben Scott and with Glenn Hunter, and because I think I was the chairperson at the time. And what they were asking the college to do was to sign up for an aviation academy that had a requirement of the number of jobs to be fulfilled over a period of time that really was untenable. It would have required us to go into our reserves to support the program. I asked a lot of questions about, like, show me the sustainability, show me what the state of Florida is doing, show me, and there was actually a trip that was taken, Dr. Barrett, I believe, went up on this trip to another community in South Carolina that they had a very minimal number of people in the program. So that was then, you're right about that. I did talk to one of our county commissioners about the meeting because he was in this meeting, and he was incredibly surprised that what had been presented as a fait accompli hadn't included the discussion with the college. So he was taken aback based on that. So I think back to communication, yes, I agree, but I would tell you that I don't believe it's our fault. I attended that meeting with the county and the city. I think I was the only one from Columbia County there at that meeting. But the commitment was that we would have these conversations, and so then we find out sort of after the fact, not only did they change it, and I also found out that HACO does not have a signed contract for these with the city for these workforce jobs. So, again, back to a little bit of the cart before the horse in terms of the county putting this grant out there. There's a lot of questions, and so when Dr. Barrett and I talked to, I said, why don't we put together a holistic a proposal of what we would need to do to participate, because even the county commissioner said he didn't know what was involved in this grant because it had been modified so many different times that what he was looking at, he said there's no way anyone could really commit to it. And I told him right up front, I said, as a trustee, I could not commit our names to something without knowing what the project would do and what the resources are required. So that's sort of what's been going on behind the scenes.
Well, that might be the case. Maybe there's been too much going on behind the scenes. Maybe this board needs to be better informed of what's happening. But can I finish?
Miguel, hold on.
But obviously, those are employees of those entities you talked about. So and that's their issue. I don't know why their employees would step outside those bounds. But as a board member, as a public official, when their representatives come to us and say, "Hey, college is not interested,"
Yeah, but they don't speak for us. We speak for us. And my problem is the lack of transparency seems very, very deliberate. And so when we're asking, hey, who's going to run this? And HACO says, oh, we'll take this, and that's what we're understanding. If we walk away from something with the understanding that HACO's going to do it, that's out of respect for HACO and the city's agreement at that point. When now somebody else, another institution, and the name is being changed after the fact, to me, that just seems like this was an intentional blinding of us. This is not something that is just like by chance, and then we're going to invite somebody onto essentially your campus or your area.
well, I'm going to interrupt you. Who's blindsiding who? I don't understand. Is it the employees that are getting beyond their governing boards?
Yes.
My thoughts are, if President Barrett is in a discussion with somebody and they say, oh no, we're going to have HACO work this, then that's our understanding. If they don't come back and communicate like information that should be given to us, not changed and then presented to people to sign, because then we don't know what they're signing. And then so people are supporting things that it seems to me like, why would we support something that would ultimately hurt us?
Well, I don't think we ever got to that point because it never got sent to us to look at.
Right, we
That's what's
heard
happening.
from the chancellor.
Right.
What was going on.
This is not what was 4 years ago, which I was around Suzanne, and Suzanne put a lot of thought, and at that time President Barrett put a lot of thought, and my thoughts were, if it's not a sustainable thing and it can't be done, why would we commit to something we can't follow through? That is totally different than what is now being told at a different time. So fast forward the clock 4 years later, to me, that's not the same thing. That's like saying the housing market didn't change in the last 4 years, or whatever, is going on with the market didn't change. Things are always in flux. But when President Barrett is given information and makes the right information call at that time, and then somebody then says later, hey, we're going to change the name on here, it's like saying, to me, that seems like a very deliberate blinding on us. And so we can't weigh in if people don't give us information. And we're coming to meetings and we're asking for whatever, and they know intentionally, just like Suzanne was saying, hey, we've got this commissioner who couldn't believe that this is in our backyard, and why are we okay with this? To me, we're not okay with this.
Well, nobody's saying we are. Nobody's saying anything about Dr. Barrett. It's just that we're not. I wish you quit interrupting me. I wish when I have my turn to talk, I don't interrupt you. That we have some transparency, as Suzanne said, and that we be notified of what's going on. But maybe the issue is between the county and is it county and city and their employees? As you mentioned, both managers.
Yep.
So maybe they need to do that before they reach out to their public officials. But obviously, if you're in a position and you're told that the college is not interested, which obviously the college wasn't even told, then we would obviously sign a letter of support for somebody else that wants to do it because we don't want to miss that opportunity. And that's where I am. And that's why I spoke up, because my letter is one of those 8 letters of support. And obviously I represent another county too called Swanee, and I would do that. But it makes perfect sense that the college be the one to do it. But I don't know the behind the scenes maneuvers between the city and the county and their employees. But on the face of it, when I heard it, we passed it over 4 years ago. I knew about the diesel program. Obviously, I would sign it in support of Swanee County to do that.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Barrett, too. I believe what we ended up getting was a grant to study the feasibility of the program, because there was a lot of concern about, like, where are these jobs going to go? I mean, HACO is one of those organizations that, one year they have a hiring, the next year they have a downsizing, right? And so if you've been in the community here long enough, you know that it's their business model is going to do what they're going to do, but the city has a requirement for certain things, and so they have their own agenda to do something because of whatever they need to do, and then the county's got their agenda. But meanwhile, our role is to be able to provide workforce, but have a sustainable model. And when we're taking college resources or signing our names to a grant, and this is where I get wonky. I don't want to put my name on a grant and not know the details and not know how it's going to be used. And they can't tell you this at the county right now. They're kind of going, well, we'll kind of fill in the details later. And I'm hearing this directly from a county commissioner, so it's not, that I'm hearing it. He was at this meeting and he's like, they couldn't tell me. So I think there's some accountability that we need to have for that. But in terms of what they're doing now, it is very different than what we were presented with 4 years ago. Very different than what they've been talking about all along. And it morphed at the end, and clearly we have a role to participate in something that provides a service to the business community, workforce development, but we have a responsibility also to make sure that it's done correctly. I mean, when I hear about things like grants being changed after people sign them, that is concerning to me as a trustee. I mean, how do we know we don't put, we put our name and our things in a letter of support or do something, and then they change it after the fact? I have trouble with that.
And I just want. Oh, I'm sorry, Catherine. I just wanted to clarify. I just want to clarify. I didn't mean anything against anybody that signed any of those supports at all. And I didn't mean it that way.
Well, it makes us look bad too.
Okay.
If we're not getting the full information, that's not your fault.
Right.
But
Right.
I mean, I don't know where the breakdowns. The passing of the 4 year ago contract, was that something was that board action?
We actually approved the diesel. We changed
so
it.
No money was lost. We just
and actually, and the other issue is that to follow up, I have reached out to Superintendent Roush via email and via 2 phone calls to find out, because when I spoke to him about this, I didn't want to get all into this. Superintendent Roush said he had no intention of providing the training. He provided a letter of support. And in the grant application, that's all it says, is he was similar to those 7 other letters.
That's the Suwannee County
Superintendent. So that's what he said. And as a follow-up, that was the meeting I had with Mr. Carswell, with Superintendent Carswell, and he did not give us letter of support, and he said he didn't want to be involved with the politics, and whatever played out would play out. So Columbia County Schools did not support this either.
Okay. So he supported who getting the grant with his letter if he didn't intend on getting it?
Well, when you do these letters, as you know, you do hundreds, probably 20 or 30 of these letters of support. We do them as a college too. We just say that it's a good idea and you move forward. This is a good idea to offer aviation training and so forth. But in the actual grant that I have with me today, in the grant narrative, it says they are the provider of education.
Who?
The Suwannee River Oak Technical College.
And he signed that letter?
No, he didn't. He signed a letter of just saying he supported this, the idea. And in the actual grant, it says that they are going to be the provider of it.
He don't sign the grant. He's just like me.
Was he surprised?
He wrote a letter.
He hasn't responded.
Okay.
He told me, when I talked to him, he told me he was only supporting it in a letter of statement, and then in a follow-up conversations, I've tried to reach him and an email. He has not returned a call. So I think everyone is kind of backing off.
Well, I'm not scared to back off of anything, but I am surprised because this is the first time I've heard it. And when my letter's one of those 8, I'm going to address it. But this is all new news to me. And if what I'm hearing is there's certainly a breakdown in communication in county and city government, which I'm not part of. I'm state government. That's not my issue, but just like the superintendent, if somebody comes to us with this idea, as we said, we're going to support the idea. But
and I want you guys to be very clear too, just like President Barrett was saying. I'm not pointing the finger at anybody because there's tons of documents that come my direction and tons of things that I'm constantly having to review. And I think that the understanding that they presented to you at the time is different than the reality that exists today. And so for me, I appreciate you, Representative Brandon, for being so incredibly supportive of the college. And I think that this is not an ill intent for anybody who's at that meeting. To me, the thing is, I feel like there needs to be transparency, and I think at the city/county level, there are some things that when we have a president that's willing to work with the staff and make meetings. I mean, when was the last time some of these inroads that we've had regarding sewer and things? Like, we want to be collaborative. We don't want to be disruptive, but I feel like transparency on their part is we need this because we can't be supportive to the fullest extent of the community and their needs without them being good communicators. And to me, this is not about politics. This is about helping our community. And so I appreciate everybody at that meeting. And when I caught wind of this, I was like, it felt very moved because I felt like we want to be fair to the community and the constituents, and I appreciate everything everybody does there.
Well, I'll close by saying I don't see anything political about any of this. I mean, somebody wants a letter of support for a good idea, I'm going to give it. But how long has this discussion been going on that maybe this thing is the guys up the chain don't know about it? How long has that been being batted around?
Which one? Which chain? I'm trying.
Between maybe, like you said, the county commissions, I don't know anything about it. How long have they known that this thing went out and they didn't know anything about it?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Well, I wish somebody, we're talking about transparency, I wish somebody reach out to me over a 2-week period and let me know where I don't get notified in a board meeting.
Well, that's why I thought I was
Either as a board member or as a legislator. Because if it's been going around for 2 weeks, I ought to know about it if my name's on one of those letters.
I was I was trying to work it out between those candidates. Mike and I have had 4 meetings to try to work this out, and it hasn't been worked out yet. So I thought it was important, and I started reaching out to Miguel this afternoon, Suzanne a couple of days ago. So I haven't, well, I can make excuses, but I knew you were in Tallahassee doing that stuff. But I mean, you were going to be the next person.
And I do think that one of the things you need to hear from all of us directly, I'll speak for myself only, but I want to have these kind of discussions at our meetings. And I know that there are some boards that have even said to you, well, don't take that to your board, don't involve your board. This is why this board is so important and so special, because this is not a political board, okay? We're here for the students, we're here for the community, we're here for the businesses that we support, and it's not about who gets elected next, because we serve at the whim of the governor, okay? But we have to do what's right every single day. And so you need to be confident that you can come to these public meetings and talk about these, because we can't talk about them under any other circumstance. And so it makes it really hard, because I have to say, hey, have you talked to Lindsay? Hey, have you talked to Chuck? Have you talked to Catherine and what's going on in her district? And so we don't ever really get a chance to discuss it. This is really only our forum to do that. And I would encourage you to bring these things to us, and don't worry as much about what people who serve at the whim of an electorate that doesn't have the best interest of the college at heart. Again, we've been through how many county and city managers in Lake City in just a short period of time, and each one comes in trying to make their mark on what they want to do. And God bless them for that, but that's not in our mission. So I encourage us to have these kind of conversations. I'd rather come to a meeting like this where we're talking about things and we can express our opinions, whether we agree or disagree, than to come to a meeting where we basically just have a consent agenda and we rubber stamp it and we drive home. These are important conversations.
Well, you're correct. We can't talk to each other because of the Sunshine Law, but that does not apply to these folks sitting out here and the president. They can communicate with us in the meantime, and I am upset about a 2-week delay about something that I should have known about.
Ms. McGinnis, did you want to speak?
My feelings on it, if this comes to pass, this is going to hurt Florida Gateway. I really do believe that. So I'm hoping that it gets stopped where it won't hurt our college.
So Dr. Fair, one of the things that you and I talked about was putting together a comprehensive proposal of what it would take to provide these services. And because clearly we're if the Suwannee County Superintendent doesn't even know about it, that's a lot of short-term marshaling of resources to do this. But I also think an actual contract with HACO would be a really important part of, committing college resources to do something. So, I know there are a lot of emails that have been going back and forth between you and leadership in different areas, but I think one approach, I always like to come up with this is what we can do, and help us get to the point by providing us the information. I like to try to build consensus on things, and so I would like to figure out how to do this, but the onus is on them to provide the details of what actually needs to be done. If we're supposed to place how many people in a workforce out of Lake City, Florida, how do you do that?
Well, our commitment is we want to help do this, and that's why Mike's been rewriting this grant. And you want to comment anything what we've been doing, Mike?
We had a lot of questions about the grant, and that's why I've been going back and forth with David Krause to ask questions about just exactly what was involved. We understand there's a 20,000-foot hangar involved, construction. It's almost a $5 million grant. And we wanted to know what type of training they were going to provide, because A&P is a very difficult training to provide. That's why we kind of backed out 4 years ago, is we couldn't meet the number of jobs that were required of the grant, and trying to get students into the program was very difficult. So this is kind of a sheet metal type, mechanics, manufacturing. There's several different job descriptions in that, so I'm trying to sort through what exactly is going to be provided and write that to the satisfaction of DEO and the Department of Education, because they both have questions like we do about it, what this is going to look like if they fund it. So that's where we are right now. And that's basically where we are at this point.
Mike, I'm wondering, has the ship already sailed? Is it has sailed? Is it too late to get it turned back?
That was my question.
What's the status of the grant? Is it waiting approval, signature of the government?
Yes, it's waiting for approval.
It depends on who you ask.
And
kind of a move.
Where was the idea hatched?
I have no idea.
It had to come from somewhere.
The economic development area of
I mean, locally, somebody had to be the contact locally.
I can assume that it was
Who is the person that brought it to you outside of the city manager and the county manager?
Mr. Kraus and Mr. Williams brought it to Dr. Barrett's attention.
But they weren't the ones soliciting the grant.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, they were. And the reason we know about this is because of our meeting, I now attend all county commission meetings. And there was a wish list at one of the county commission meetings for a $4.7 million grant for aviation training that the county had in their budget. That's what piqued our curiosity to begin with, is because we had, we had already tried aviation. Again, we applied for this aviation grant 4 years ago. It was 1.3 million, I think it was. And DEO gave it to us, awarded us the grant for $800,000. So it wasn't even going to match what we needed to do what they wanted us to do. And that's why it became untenable for us to go that route. And that's why we went back and went to DOE, and they repurposed the grant to make it a diesel mechanic program. So again, we're kind of playing catch up.
So the only way you found out was you spotted it in the budget? That's how you figured it out? Nobody ever reached out?
See, that's, after our last joint meeting that we had with the city and the county and us, that opened my eyes, because until then I had been under this naive belief that the city and the county and the college were all, worked together and cooperated, and everyone. Anyway, I was under that belief, and it almost seems to me, and I know you said you're going to those meetings, that's something that I guess until something changes, that we're going to have to do, is basically look over the shoulder of the city and county to make sure that we're being at least our own due diligence to make sure that we know what's going on and opportunities, and so we don't end up in a situation like this. And I understand, like what you said earlier, of if someone comes to you and says, oh, well, this is this good idea and it's going to work, and you're in support of it, and then turn around and find out later on that the college never even knew about it. I mean, that's I don't know. That's troubling. I don't know why. I don't know where the thought process would come from for them not to want to include us and cooperate. It seems, you said earlier how much money the college brings in from these sporting events, and something we should look at.
There's definitely an understanding that when we are asked to participate in something, we will ask questions, and we will thoroughly vet those proposals to make sure that, number one, we can accomplish the mission, and that it's done correctly. And I truly believe, this is me speaking again myself, that the perception is that we don't want to get the college involved because they're going to ask too many questions, and they're going to I
can see that.
Suzanne asks too many questions.
I can see that.
But that's my job. My job
Sure.
is to ask questions. So I think that there's a thought process that, we'll just kind of paint the college as being obstructionist. That word really bothers me. And that we can go around them because we don't really want them asking the tough questions. My perception.
I think we could feel like we're on notice at this point.
But here's the other issue. If I had to stop and said something a while ago, we were fixing to adjourn this meeting, and we'd went another 2 months without knowing what the heck's going on. We don't meet in December, correct?
Right.
We don't meet.
And if I've been hoodwinked into writing a letter, I might write a letter tomorrow for somebody to go to West Point. I might write a letter in support of the money that I want to help Santa Fe College get for their students. I'd like to know that, but that's not your place to do that. But obviously, somebody in the chain, and it's not us, is not talking and not being straight. And of course, it's pretty bad when that superintendent writes a letter and maybe he don't even know what's going on either. So maybe I'm not the only public official that gets asked to do this and doesn't get the whole story. But my request is this publicly: if there are any things like that going on in the future, and somebody from this staff knows about it, please call me and let me know, because that is not a violation of the Sunshine Law. I can't call Suzanne and talk about it, but I can talk to y'all about it.
a good point.
Yep.
So where do we go from here? Other than Mike is working on the grant.
Well, I think the other part, I mean, that I've been told, but like we said, if you talk to, and I know certainly you have to leave soon, certainly. So if you talk to the county and the city, the grant would have been awarded a week ago. If you talk to Chancellor Mack, he says it's sitting there and it has a lot of work to be done. And, you know, it's not going anywhere. And in fact, he's indicated that he's coming down with the DOE people, Department of Economic Opportunity people to review this, have people sit down at a table and do this. So, but that hasn't occurred. And I don't know if it's gonna occur. I mean, it's a moving part.
Where do technical colleges fall? Are they under them too?
Under them, yeah, under him.
But that's under the purview of the school system?
That's under the
Okay.
school system.
So since there is not another meeting until January, is there something that could be done in the meantime?
Make a recommendation that we, I would make a recommendation to the board until, you know, Chancellor Mack has said they're coming down. He said, he quite frankly said two things. I can kill the grant, or would you like to try to salvage this? And I said, for Columbia County, for the workforce, I'd like us to try to work together. And he said he would come down with the Assistant Secretary at the Department of Economic Opportunity. He has not heard. I heard that everybody's up in Tallahassee, wasn't traveling, and doing that kind of thing during the last 3 days. So.
Well, I will certainly write a letter for Florida Gateway College too. and make the best man win.
And so we think that meeting will be, so it's gonna be basically with the county and the city.
And us.
And us, and so that would be a public meeting, obviously. And
Well, it doesn't have to be noticed or anything like that. Because
okay,
it's a meeting.
but we all could attend.
Yep, and I would invite you, and then if you all attended, if more than one of you attended, I would have to call a public meeting on that. I would have to post it.
Yeah, be careful on that. I'd love to notice it.
Well, I certainly want to support our community and workforce development. I just want to know what we sign up for. You know, I take putting my name on something pretty seriously. You know, I got to sit in all those Auditor General reports, you know, that said the college was doing everything right. I don't think, you know, I don't want to be a person sitting on a board that signs a grant and doesn't really know what the requirements of that grant are. And again, there's things that come through and we don't know all the details, but I have a confidence level in this staff that they tell us the things that are, you know, that are important. And we have the Auditor General's report to back it up. So that's my requirement to support something.
Okay. So we will leave it at that we will be notified of the meeting to come when it does occur. If it occurs over the 2-month period that we are away from the meeting time.
Have a special meeting anytime.
Yeah, yeah. Would anyone like to suggest topics for future meetings? Since we don't meet until January. Any additional topics?
Madam Chair, I don't have a topic. I don't want to look rude in about 2 minutes. My son plays soccer in Mayo. Probably going to get whipped by Mayo starting 10 minutes ago. So I'm going to duck out of here, but thank you for having us. And you're welcome for our former coach being your coach now and whipping us last Friday in football. He's also my cousin, so my gene pool says you're welcome.
And the time for our future meeting in January, January 13th, 2022 at 5 p.m. back a regular board meeting at FGC. And I call that meeting to an end.